President Trump has said he will, 1, put 60% trade tariffs on Chinese imports and 10 to 20% tariffs on the imports from all other countries. 2, deport 11 million illegal aliens. 3, cut taxes sharply, which would make the budget deficit significantly larger and make the economy grow faster. And 4, weaken the dollar. However, it will not be possible for him to do all 4 of those things unless he gains control over monetary policy. Here's why. Tariffs, deportations, and tax cuts would cause inflation. Higher inflation would force the Fed to hike interest rates to bring inflation back down to its 2% target, and higher interest rates would make the dollar appreciate, not weaken, as the president desires. Here's why tariffs would cause inflation. Last year, the United States imported $3.1 trillion of goods from abroad. I estimate President Trump's proposed tariffs would add between $500 billion and $1 trillion to the price Americans pay for the things they buy every year. Such a large spike in the cost of all imports would drive inflation sharply higher. But this would only be the first round effect. Such high tariffs would force U.S. companies to bring a significant portion of their factories back to the United States and to hire very large numbers of Americans to work in those factories. But the United States is already at full employment. The unemployment rate is near all-time lows at 4.1%. Since everyone who wants a job already has one, the U.S. companies reshoring would have to pay much higher wages to attract workers. Higher wages would push up prices and inflation. This second round effect would set off a wage push inflation spiral like the one experienced in the early 1970s. Deportations would also cause inflation. 159 million people are currently working in the U.S. President Trump has stated he intends to deport 11 million of them, 7% of the total. This would radically exacerbate the labor shortage and drive wages, prices, inflation, and interest rates much higher still. Large tax cuts would also be inflationary since they would cause the U.S. economy to grow more rapidly and cause the economy to overheat, adding to inflationary pressures. If inflation begins to rise again, as it would with high trade tariffs, mass deportations, and tax cuts, then the Fed would respond by raising the federal funds rate to bring inflation back down to its 2% inflation target. Rising U.S. interest rates would drive the U.S. dollar higher. Therefore, it will not be possible for President Trump to impose high trade tariffs, deport millions of workers, cut taxes, and lower the value of the dollar, unless he gains control over monetary policy and prevents interest rates from rising. The following slides will discuss how he may attempt to do that. President Trump will re-enter office with a tremendous amount of power. Not only will he have control over the executive branch of government, to a very considerable extent, he will also have control over the legislative and judicial branches as well. Republicans will have the majority in both houses of Congress and a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. Given his position of strength and his determination to get what he wants, it seems quite likely that the president will make a forceful attempt to gain control over monetary policy as well. There are 2 ways President Trump could gain control over monetary policy.